when you are at your wit's end and you are ready to pimp slap the people you love, people in your life, or even some random person on the street who just takes your parking space, don't pimp slap them. Okay, don't do it. We need you alive. We need you out of jail. What you can do, and I would highly recommend, is you start to discern how to dismantle your trigger. Okay? Hey, I'm Dr. Venus, and I'm on this thing around healing historical wounds within the Black community so we can create generational wealth. And if you're anything like me, you got a little edge on you. You got a little edge on you. Don't be ashamed. It's okay. I got one too. Okay, I got a lot of edge on you. All right? And I'm a person who gets triggered a great deal by humanities crazy. And so I want to take a few minutes. I'm going to walk the block, take a few minutes, and really show you how to dismantle your triggers so you don't get mad to the point that you take actions that you will regret. Okay? You may want to take a note on this. I'm going to give you some steps that are actionable, and I'm going to encourage you to share this video, tag people that you love, that you know. They can get a little hot-headed sometimes when they get offended, so they can have some steps. Oh, thank you for the hearts. So they can have some steps instead of ending up divorced or fired because they lost their temper, right? So here's the thing. If you think about it, whenever you're ready to lose it or really hand somebody their bum on a platter, you have to take a moment. Let me tell you what to do. Everybody just pick a moment in your life where you're just ready to just rip somebody apart. Verbally, emotionally, I don't care. Just pick somebody in your real life, apply it to your real life. It's going to make it more useful, all right? Get that picture in your mind and think about, what do you say to yourself right before you're ready to retaliate, okay? One of the things I say to myself is, you're not listening to me. You don't hear me. Why aren't you listening? You see what I'm saying? So when you start saying that, keep in mind, the moment you say that, you're about to go there. You are in a reaction. Your physiology is about to take over. Your amygdala is about to get hijacked. You're about to lose your stuff. So the way that survival works is that you either flee, freeze, or fight. That is what's going to happen. Okay? So in order to keep yourself from doing that, you gotta slow down the current. You have to slow down your reaction so you can see what sets you off. Sometimes it's somebody's tone. Sometimes it's when someone's being unfair. Sometimes it's when your emotional well-being is exhausted and you no longer have the wherewithal to try to get some grace. Okay? Whatever it is, you have to be able to learn you such that when life happens, you have a choice, not a reaction. First things first, take deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Shh. I think in terms of 3. I give me 3 big ones in until I get to a belly breath. Not shallow, not the high, not the chest, but in my stomach. Okay? And then I identify, okay, what happened that really made me want to hurt somebody? And I realize it's something I've said to myself. Now, the question you want to ask yourself is when you start to identify what your triggers are, you have to ask yourself this question. Where did that start? Where did it start? When did I start saying people don't listen to me? Where did I start saying you're calling me a liar? When did I start saying that? And if you tell the truth to yourself, you'll realize that it's an old wound from your past. Okay? It's not the current situation. It is an old wound that you haven't tended to. And in truth, you should thank God that the person who ever frustrated you drove it up so you can then heal it. So you identify, where did this start? And you'll find out, okay, this started when I got divorced, or this started when my mother put me out, or this started when my father left. It doesn't really matter. Just identify it. And when you can identify it, then you just want to take a moment to do 1 or 3 things, all right? And these there are other steps, so I'm going to get you started. And I'm going to do an event, a live event, I believe it's a live event, called Healing Black Love, and we'll go all the way in, okay? But you want to do 3 things. The first one is, once you identify the source, where it started, you want to look to see, what can you forgive, what can you be responsible for, and what can you grant grace. Someone should type that up. Someone should share that with somebody because it's going to save somebody's life. So forgiveness is when you, how can I say this? Forgiveness doesn't mean you condone bad behavior. But forgiveness means you're willing to let yourself off the hook of always having to look at the effect of other people. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's you letting go of the resentment. Okay? So that's the first one. The second one is you want to, so I wanted you to do, forgive, be responsible. Sometimes the reason why we're frustrated is because we stayed too long. Have you ever stayed in a situation, a job, a relationship, a building or whatever, and it wasn't good for you, and you stayed too long, and it got uglier? That you can be responsible for that. I can be responsible for that. I've done that. You know what I'm saying? I stayed too long. It wasn't good for me, and me trying to be a good person or a people pleaser, I stayed too long. Okay? So I can be responsible for that, and I can bring that to the current situation. You see what I'm saying? And the third thing, which is quite frankly the most freeing, okay, is this. You want to tag somebody, you want to share this is dope, is grace. Now, grace is not forgiveness. Grace is pardon. And the way you grant grace, and you got to think about how God does it, because I think that God is dope, and I think God is smarter than all of us, and so I kind of copy. So with grace, you want to identify the lesson you learned from that initial upset, that initial violation, that initial pain, that initial wound, okay? Like, my mama put me out, I learned resilience. I learned how to persevere. You know what I'm saying? I learned some things, right? But grace is different. So when you have learned the lesson, now you have to identify the blessing. This is when it gets fun, okay? The blessing has nothing to do with you, okay? The blessing is what gets moved through you in service of humanity. And that could be your mom, your family, it could be your church, it could be your sorority, it could be your business, it could be your network, it doesn't matter. For me, when my mother put me out and I was in on the streets by 16, one of the things that happened was I eventually started to go to school, all right? I'm the first person in my bloodline to graduate from high school, in my bloodline, not just my immediate, but I'm talking about my bloodline, right? And because of that particular trauma, blah, 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 my nieces and nephews have gone to school. Do you understand? Like, because of something bad, I ended up surviving by going to school. And the blessing from that is that my bloodline now has the possibility, access, the potentiality of getting an education. That is the blessing that came from that trauma. Do you see what I'm saying? So how can I begrudge the trauma? Do you understand? How can I begrudge the trauma when it totally shifted the whole educational trajectory of my bloodline? That's called grace. So it makes me look back on being put out, and it doesn't have me being put out on the streets equal bad. It means it was preparation for my destiny. That's when grace kicks in, because there's nothing to forgive. Can you hear the maturity? It's an emotionally mature perspective. It is a spiritually evolved way of holding the past. Do you see what I'm saying? And when you do that, your amygdala slows down, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in, your nervous system calms down, and you can start being cognitive, and you can think again. And you can have grace and mercy with people who don't even know that they're wounded. Okay? So if you are affected by this word, please pay it forward. This is Dr. Venus. This love you, sis. I love you, bro. I love you, family. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy some groceries. I just dropped Happy off, but I wanted to make sure I spit this so that you don't have to. It takes something to slow down your reactions, and it does take a couple of rotations. But if you take it on, sis, if you take it on, bro, you will save so many relationships that will be fruitful in your life at some other time. Okay? So don't burn the bridge just because you're mad. All right. That's all I got. Dr. Venus here. I love you, sis. I love you, bro. Please, 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 for the love of God and all things holy, please share this video. Share this wisdom. Sharing is an act of love. I'm sharing my knowledge with you as an act of love. Okay? And my prayer is that you pay it forward to the people that you love. Okay? Enjoy your day. Goodbye for now, and share this video.